today in Newark, and I found a lovely lady who's going to tell me why she's here at the protest, so take it away.
I came today, I came with my son. I came with my son and my friend, and we decided, this has started going back about 2 years ago, and I saw the increased rapes, attacks on girls, and with what happened back in the 80s with all the girls being groomed and abused, I thought, we didn't stand up then, and I was too young to stand up then, and I didn't understand it, but now I understand it, and now I understand what's happening, and I can't stand back, and I can't let that keep happening and not say anything. I'd be a hypocrite sitting at home, and I feel like there's too many people sat at home thinking this is terrible, this is disgusting, this is wrong, but they're not speaking up. And the reason they're not speaking up is they're scared of being called racist. And that was the very thing that the police found, that the judges found when they did the review on the case court on the children that were raped. The reason that they didn't speak up, the police, the councils, everything, was they were scared of being called racist. Now, what bothers me is in what kind of world do we live in when you are more scared of being called racist and you are willing to protect someone based on the colour, not that racism right, I don't mean that, but you're willing to protect someone based on a colour, but then not acknowledge the paedophilia that's going on, not acknowledge the problem that is happening. And what my fear is, with the immigration that's coming in, we're not just bringing anybody in. Like when we're bringing Ukrainians in, people say, oh, you're racist because you didn't have a problems with Ukrainians. The problem is when you bring in people from a country that come from a total different culture, that's barbaric, that are still stoning people, still beheading people, still beating women. These are all rights that British people fight against and stand against. And all that the leftism stand against, yet they are pushing for more of these people to come in. And we've been seeing, not just in Britain, but in France, in Germany, the Sharia law. And with the rise of Sharia law, that's the way Islam's run. That's what they want for this country. And if the people, like I said, if when the Ukrainians come in or people like that, people say, okay, it's colour. It's not colour. I'm colourblind. If I had people that were coming in this country and they're a different colour skin, but they shared the similar values, or even different values and culture, but they were safe, and it wasn't bringing any harm to his children, it was safe, I'm happy for that. We don't see people having a problem with South Americans or Chinese or people like that. Why is it that everybody seems to have a problem with Islam? At what point are we going to start and ask, is Islam a problem? That's the thing. And you know the sad thing as well, I always wonder, right, if there were at least they believe 250,000 white girls to be raped, right, by these Pakistani Muslim men. I'll not say grooming, I'll say rape, because that's what it is, it's rape. Now, if this is happening, and if this is okay within their communities, because you don't see them coming out and standing up, you don't see them coming out and saying this is wrong, right? We don't just, people say, okay, you're racist because you're going for these, you're standing up and you're calling out these Pakistani grooming gangs and stuff. The reason we're having to call these out is not because we're racist. We'd do the exactly same if it were white paedophiles, and we do, and there's people who's actively searching those people. The reason that we're having to fight so hard is because we've got police, we've got councils, we've got social workers, we've got the government covering up because they didn't want to be deemed racist. So it's not that people are going after people because they're of skin colour, it's because those people of skin colour was protected because of the skin colour. And no more, that's got to stop. We're not going to have another repeat. And what we're already seeing now is crime rates are rising. I think Afghanistan people are more likely, men, to rate 22% higher, something like that. Some say 14, but 22% higher. We have to start looking at the culture and the religion and where that comes from. So in Iran, for example, you can marry a child at 9-year-old.
We can check them stats out in lifetime for Afghan men. We can check it out in lifetime.
So you can marry a child at 9-year-old, and same in a lot of these Pakistani countries, you can marry young children And also the book itself, the Quran, says, I can't remember word for word, but there's basically a wording that says that when a child has kind of started a period, then you can sleep with that child. And for me, a child can start a period at 8-year-old. Now, if your God that you follow and you love and you adore, if that God married that child and slept with that child, then this makes it morally okay, and it's not morally okay. You know, it's with a lot of other cultures, we know it's wrong, and the paedophiles know it's wrong, and they hide it. A lot of these families that were abusing these children was doing it openly in the families. It were brothers, uncles, cousins. So it wasn't just someone secretly going and a paedophile like you get in a British family, just going raping like an uncle or a stepdad. It was actually within the families.
And what happened here today? Who was the majority of the anti-protesters? Were they white, middle class?
Yes, yeah. I've always found that really interesting, actually, because it's always white, middle class, lefties that come, and it's really odd because everything they stand for, like for example, there's lots of people there with the gay pride flag. I've got lots of friends who are gay and lesbians and things like that, and that's brilliant. But the thing that they're pushing, the thing that they're calling us racist, they call the so-called far right, which is not, we're just central, but they call us far right or racist or Nazis because we are fighting against this for our children. We don't want this country to have Sharia law, and yet they're stood there with you've got your gay pride, and then you've got them pushing Islam. And the problem when you do that, Islam wouldn't accept gay people.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Well, if it's trans right for Palestine, wouldn't it be better to go to Palestine and protest there?
Exactly, but they wouldn't live in. They'd be beheaded. So if they went to Palestine as a gay person and tried to push that, they'd be beheaded because they don't believe in that. They're against it.
I think she has the.
I'm going off here of Sky News. It says that Nigel Farage says an Afghan male has a 22 times more likely chance of being convicted of rape than somebody born in this country.
What is it there?
22%, I said.
Yeah,
Some say 14, some say 22.
Yeah.
It depends if it's per capita, but yeah.
Well,
22%. We've only just started looking at ethnicity crime rights, but you look at Sweden, where they keep them, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. You have women that have to walk together. You have changes in rape. There's always been rape across all colours and all and stuff, races. But you've got women being gang raped, and that's a change in Sweden. And it just happened not long ago in England. 5 men from somewhere in what I believe was an African continent rape a woman. And I've not heard of this before in Britain, but I've heard of it a hell of a lot in Sweden, and it's increasing. And what you've got in some of those areas in Africa where these people come from, it's not normal, but it happens in these places. You've got certain tribes that come and they will go and do it to another tribe as a punishment to their women. And this is the thing, people will look at this and they will say, oh, that's racist for talking about that or thinking that. If this were white people behaving like this, I'd have the exact same feeling.
Yeah.
But my problem is we're not silenced to talk about white people doing it. But anybody of colour or any race, should I say, we're silenced. We're called racist. It's got to stop. You know, I think this often in all of the wars that's ever been fought, in all of the bombs and all of the guns and all of the swords, there's one word alone that's destroyed Europe, and that's the word racism. It's been weaponised. It's been used as a weapon to shut down anything where we try to protect as children or as country. And my feeling is where's the women and the children that's coming in on boats? So I think it's more like 85% that's coming on the boats are male. Where are all the women? When you run away from war, you take your women and children with you.
Yeah.
So when you go into a war, you leave your women and children behind. So my question is, where are all the women and children?
And what would you like to see for the future of England or Britain?
For Britain. So I would like mass deportation. I would like real immigrants to be allowed to come in. I would like a fair system where immigrants who are really running away from a country, that they can have sanctuary. But I feel like this is being abused now. I don't feel like if you're gay, you can claim asylum in England. Well, why don't you just migrate normally to any other country instead of getting on a boat and claiming refugee? If I lived in England and all of a sudden I wasn't accepted as being a lesbian, I won't get myself on a boat, go to another country and say I'm an immigrant. I would simply just move because I didn't like that country's values. These are the things that I don't understand. And also, when you go to Calais, they're being told what to say in Calais. You have told, this is what you say when you go there, this is what you need to do. So my thing for England is, I'll tell you what fears me. Before the World War I and II, we're 33% of the population, white people. We now stand for 15% of the world's population, despite constantly being told that that everybody else is a minority. And my concern is, Lebanon, for example, it was a Christian country, and it was 75% Christian country, and they said, what you hear them all say, 1, 2, 3, 4 refugees welcome here, and they let them in, Palestine. They opened the country, they let them in, and it's a kind and it's a righteous thing to do. But did those people then respect that? No. They slaughtered and they murdered all the Christians in that country, or as many as they could. The ones that didn't convert had to leave, as they were trying to leave in the middle of the night as punishment for trying to leave and not converted. They were slaughtered. That country today, still 30, 40 years on, I'm probably wrong with my dates, but they're still a Muslim-run country, you know. And for Britain, what we're trying to do is make sure that when our children and grandchildren, children's children are older, that we still have this as a predominantly Christian country. I'm happy to say that, you know, because his values are based on that. I don't mind if we have people come into this country that have different beliefs, as long as they respect the general belief of this country, and as long as they don't push that on. But the problem is, in any country that you will get, when you have a minority population of, for example, I'm just using Islam as an example because that's the strongest religion, but when you have a strong religion like that and you have more of those people coming in and more of that religion, as you see now, the politics are filling up. So eventually it will get to where the religion is pushed into politics. So, for example, because we have more Muslims in local councils now, what we're seeing is a lot of the churches being changed over to mosque, and that is because it's being passed through by them. Now, if this was a Christian's people with strong Christian beliefs, they'd fight a little bit more for it, I feel. So I feel that having different people with different religions and beliefs, it is slowly eroding what we are as British people and who we are as British people. So my hope for the future is that we will continue to be a kind and giving country, but we will start to be patriotic. We will start to love this country. We will not be bought by, we are a colonial Britain. If everybody feels like that, why are they still coming to live in colonial Britain? I hope that one day that as children's old British flag and be proud of it, that they know all the past and all the history, that leftism is ripped out of all the schools and they're taught both, all of it, all of the truth, even the ugly truth about Christians.
Yeah.
You know, I want the children to be free thinkers, not controlled thinkers.
Do you think that Nigel Farage is the answer?
No, I don't. I hope he is, and I hoped he was, but I feel like I've watched him say some things like Begum. I've seen him say, well, she's not a terrorist, but she might not be a terrorist in terms of she's not committed the act of terrorism, but she did mock when she's seen people, spoke about people being beheaded. She did say she didn't feel anything. So those things, if he's saying that and already having sympathy for that, that concerns me. He also was saying that he doesn't believe, that he thinks multiculturalism is a good thing. Now, multiculturalism in minority is a good thing, But when you have that many, that multiculturalism becomes that blended that you lose your own identity as a country. You know, there's nothing worse. Imagine going to Africa and seeing loads of white people and all of them kind of doing what English people do. You'd lose Africa. You'd lose Africa.
Yeah.
You know, it's really sad that Africans, all these Africans that are here now, their country, over the time, if we all blend, all those beautiful cultures and them dances and them songs and those things that they've learned, all those will disappear. Same as all ours will disappear. And we will be blended into a murky soup of, there'll be no individual...
everything will look the same.
Same, exactly. And you've only got to look at it now. It sounds very communist, doesn't it? You go to a lot of countries and you see the houses and you know what's been a communist because you can see it, it's boring, there's no passion in it. But you go back, you go back before and there's pride in your buildings and they're built to last for 100 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. They're strong buildings. Now, they build them cheap because all they care about, the politicians now, is what's going to sort them for 4 years, what they're going to make money on, whose friends they're going to make money on. So back to Farage, I don't think he's going to be the person that's going to save England because I think he's bought like most of them. For me personally, I like Rupert Lowe. I think he's not scared to say what he thinks. But again, it's just another politician. If I had to choose anybody, it would be Rupert Lowe. However, I think we need a big shake in politics, and I think we need to remove the politicians, and the country needs to be run by the people, a board of people that's been selected that have got ground roots in the country with these values, and they are selected by people of, say, Yorkshire, and people. It's like someone from Yorkshire or someone from a different area, and I think that's how it should go. Because we all know now, I could never understand politics, and you know, you get Labour coming in for 4 years doing this, then you get Cons coming in and doing this, and then they all undo what the other one's done. You know what I think? I think they are a uniparty. I think they are the same people, and they make money off us year after year after year, and we have been bought into this stupid puppet show. And we all sit here and we're going, oh, I hate leftists, even though I use the term leftists because it's hard to explain it because we've been brought that way. But in terms of politics, the left and the right, they set us against each other. They set us against each other. And even what you see today, go back to the riots. And you obviously got Starmer, for example, trying to blame it on racism and trying to blame far right. 3 little girls were murdered, right, by someone whose dad was let in this country as an immigrant, and his dad was wanted for genocide. So he let this person in, he protected their human rights, protecting someone else's human rights, went on to see 3 little girls' human rights disappear. So after those 3 little girls were murdered, what would you do as a government? You would say, I'm going to do my best to protect those children. What can we do to make sure this never happens again? What did Starmer do? He said, we are going to give £117 million to protect the mosque and the Muslim faith. Why didn't he give £117 million to secure events where children were at? You know? So what Starmer did when he were blaming the far right, he antagonised people doing that because he knew that really the British people protect their children and love their children, and he knew that would antagonise him and that would cause racial divide, and he wanted that. He wanted racial divide because racial divide is what he is using and what he used to try and win the next party. He is shipping as many people as he can, and he is combining Islam with communist in order to win. They did the same in Iran, and they ran in Iran. You ask any Iranian now, a lot of Iranians who ran from Iran, they are scared to be in Britain now. I spoke to a few, and they've said the very thing that we ran from that happened in our country, we see now is happening in UK. Islam and communist merged together. You know, it's scary, and I fear for everybody's children's future.
So do you think that people watching this, whoever watches, should unite together and do more out on the streets?
Yes, I think everybody should be standing up. If you are not a part of the solution, then you are a part of the problem. You are a part of the reason it doesn't change. Everybody is accountable. Those children that's being raped, you are sat in watching television going, that's disgusting. But what do you do about it? You don't do anything. Do you think I want to be stood here weekend after weekend? Do you think any of us do? Do you think anyone is to be caused Nazi scum? You know, I saw a black police officer today and I felt sad. I genuinely felt guilty for him, because in his eyes he's probably thinking, do they hate me? Do these people? And I can tell you, everybody who I've ever met, apart from one person who got kicked out of where we was at, was racist, not racist. Most of all the so-called far right, they would welcome anybody of colour. And I love it when anybody of colour comes to it, from any race, comes to his protest, because then what do the leftists say? They can't say anything then.
Well, they certainly went quiet when they saw the black guy walking across the car
exactly.
park with an England top on.
Oh yeah, this far right nasty party that hates anyone of colour, but he's in the
flag,
yeah. I mean, I forgot what party it was today. One was
look at Frank Bruno.
Yeah.
Pure British legend. Going to the boxing ring with his flag.
Exactly. That makes me proud.
Yeah.
There's a guy who goes to London, he wears all the hats and stuff
yeah.
and that. That's what I want. I want them to stand up as well. I want them to come with us. Yeah. I don't want, it's not, for me, it's not about colour. It's about values and being patriot and loving the country that you're in. And for all those people that love this country, yeah, there's things that you don't like English don't like, that's fine. But being British isn't necessarily about just being white. It's any colour that comes and loves England and wants to see it a better place. And for all those who escaped from that country to come here and they want to come here and they want to better their lives, and that's fine. But don't come here and don't be raping people, don't be terrorising people. Let us know who you are. Stop coming on boats. We have a passport system for a reason. Why would somebody pay, as Stormy said, £2,000 to get on a boat if they have not done anything? Why don't they get on a flight? Why don't they come as a tourist? They can leave the country. Why? Most of these people, and even the countries, they've said it, a lot of the countries that they come from, apparently they come from prisons. A lot of the prisons during COVID couldn't cope and they were opened up and they were told to leave. I don't know whether that's true, but based on the people that I'm seeing at the moment, you turn on the telly and every day is a rape. Well, I can't really say telly because BBC and stuff like that I do. So most of the people don't watch that anymore. But you go on the YouTube, channels like this, these are channels that people should be following. Because
speaking the truth.
Yeah, going out, finding the truth, speaking to real people from any colour, any creed, not biased, not racist, wanting to know what everybody thinks and feels, wanting to get to the real truth. Because by doing that, we'll understand each other better. We'll be able to integrate better. We'll be able to find a solution better, and we'll be able to work out what's going wrong. Why is there so many rapes? Why is there so many Muslim gangs attacking children, you know? And it's got to stop. You know what I think? A lot of these countries that these people come from, they've often been wars where they've been bombed by, for example, English countries or Israel or things like that. They then have that hatred. They then come to England, and rather than have a fresh start and I'm saying, this is England, we welcome you, this is what we're going to do, they're not. Leftism then gets in, and it teaches them hate. It teaches them colonialism. It teaches them to hate British. It teaches them that we were bad and slavery. It doesn't teach you the other way around. It doesn't tell you about that actually more Africans enslaved their own people than were enslaved by British people. It doesn't tell you the fact that we were the ones to free all the slaves and pay for all the slaves to be released. It doesn't teach you the fact that that we were actually slaves, and the song Rule Britannia, never be slaves again, that's because we were enslaved. Don't tell you that. We are always the perpetrators and everybody else is always the victim. And for me, this has to stop. And if I could change the world, the word racism would be abolished, and because that to me causes divide.
And do you want to tell anybody about the protests in the other places you're going to be?
Yes, so there's, have you got the dates for them actually? There's going to be a protest coming up, there's one in Skegness. So one of the reasons for that is because there's a church being attempted to change into a mosque. And people have had enough of that.
That's the 30th of August.
That's the 30th of August.
30th of August at 1 p.m, Tower Gardens.
Yeah, 30th of August, 1 p.m, Tower Gardens.
That's in Skegness.
That's in Skegness. So hopefully we'll have some sun that day. And then the next one tomorrow is...
Hopthorne Hotel.
We probably won't see that one.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because I won't have time to put that on. But anything after that, really.
It's one here, Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln, yeah, that one's going to be a good one. Can you see the dates on that?
That one is the 16th of August.
16th of August.
Yeah, at 11 a.m.
At 11 a.m.
And that's in Lincoln.
That's in Lincoln.
In Lincoln, that'll be. We've just had one recently, actually. We're really good. And some of the so-called leftists, they came up, a few young girls, and they had a chat with us.
That's good.
Yeah, because they were told that we hated lesbians and gays. There's more lesbians and gays in our group than I see in most groups. Nobody hates lesbians and gays, they're just people. They were also told, the Asian guy that came up and spoke to me, and he was told that we hated him. And that makes me sad, because that's not true. And he asked me, like, okay, what about these protests? Why are you doing these protests if you don't hate us? And I said, it's about, doing these protests is about protecting our children, is about making sure that Britain stays Britain. And you know, when America took over, when we all went to America years ago, and we all kind of invaded America and killed all the native Indians, for example, and the same in Australia. You know, we've gone down in history as a bad thing, and it was a bad thing, and it was a bad thing. But we're having that done now here. This is happening in our country. We're not we're not being necessarily all murdered and all slaughtered, but it's genocide. Genocide doesn't mean just murder and slaughter. It means the destruction of a race, and that's what's happening to us. Our race will be destroyed if this doesn't stop. So I want multiculturalism in this country, but not at a cost of losing British identity values. Yes, yeah. Less. Yeah, back to like it was in the 80s, you know. But real immigrants, real refugees. Sorry.
Real medieval leaders.
Yes, we want strong leaders. That's what we want. We want strong leaders that are not scared to say. That's why I like Rupert. I mean, obviously you're always scared about him because we've seen obviously what Starmer did. He made all these problems. Do you know what we should have? If we can't change it and we can't get out of it, why isn't there a law that stops the government just being able to say, this is a mandate, this is what we're going to do, and then when they get into power, not doing that? How is that not legal? How can the fraud is fraud. How can they get everybody in based on this is what we're going to do and then not do it? There should be a law that stops that. And if my view is, if they do that and they lie, they lose seats. So some of them seats that they've been given to get in, those seats are then handed over there and then. Yeah. A percentage of them to the other side. Yeah. Something's got to be done. There's no Where's accountability for West? No. There should be actually
a signed document.
Yeah, a signed document, and there should be another set of bodies that regulate Westminster.
A neutral party.
Yeah, a neutral party that regulates Westminster, and anything illegal or wrong that they're doing, that's what needs to change, and we need to look at how we can do that.
Well, that'd stop all the money.
Of course it would. They don't want that, do they?
But if you want to say anything about any channels or
anything
that you're with?
So I'm with kind of two. So I'm with one called British Unity Community. So and
sign
then
up.
Yep, sign up. Yep, that one's just about getting everybody together, sharing the news, and also British Unity Network. That's where I share all the protests. And then there's another one called Unite the Right that is about uniting everybody, and that's more of an actual movement. So yeah. But it's been lovely to meet you today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.